Hello everyone, welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast. We have a special player spotlight today, and always remember, YBMcast powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. We have got some fun stuff coming up this winter. We're going to be on the road with Game 7 Baseball. We're heading down to Nashville. We're going to scoot over to Kansas City. We've got some cool stuff coming up there. And we're going to head down to Lake of the Ozarks. We're going to see some different clubs. We're going to get out in the Midwest. It's going to be a lot of fun this year with our winter workout tour. So make sure, stay tuned for those dates. We got Dave Penning coming up next week on the show. So a lot of fun. Game7Baseball.com. Today, though, I've got two very special guests. These two gentlemen to my right, and the third, way over to the right.
Way over.
Tytus Cissell, Leo Humbert from Francis Howell High School, Darren Cissell, of course. Yes, Titus's dad. He's the assistant coach at Francis Howell High School. There's been a lot of talk. First of all, how you guys doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Spectacular.
Doing fantastic.
Yeah? You look good, too.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm great.
There we go. Look at that. We're all good. A lot of chatter, a lot of stuff going on. We've talked about recruiting in different places. We've been talking about this a little bit with head coaches over this past actually month. We had a really good conversation with Coach Stiegel over at Liberty, Coach Canavan. I really enjoyed talking to him, his program, and the things that. So it's interesting, but it's amazing to me. I shouldn't say amazing. It's just so new, I think, that nobody is really up to date just yet on really what's going on. So I appreciate these gentlemen taking the time to drop some knowledge.
For sure.
Right? That's it. But first I always like to do these things. I think it kind of gives some foundation because everybody's dealing with these things. I think this is a personal one for me because I look at the landscape of youth baseball and we're always talking to players and kids and where should are we driving 800 miles every weekend? Where do we go and play? We're going to compete. We're this team, we're that team. You gentlemen definitely play on different levels of teams than I would say 98% of the baseball population. That's just a fact. What do you see different, as far as on a national team as opposed to some of the regional teams that just maybe play in the state?
For me, I think it's just the competition level. Like the level of competition, like nationally, whenever you're traveling all around, just kind of goes up just because it's a bunch of other national teams traveling too. But state, I think you get good local competition, but it's just not the same. It's just not the same as just nationally.
Do you think there's a difference even from playing in maybe in a regional area as opposed to, say, if I'm traveling to California, Phoenix, Texas, Florida, those types of, so even Grand Park, I think there's some pretty different level as far as baseball there, correct?
Yeah, I think it also has to do just like with whatever tournament in, because there's good tournaments wherever you're going to go, so it's just kind of finding the right ones that you're going to get exposure at, and I think that's what it is, just competition level.
Exposure, right? Junior this year, correct? So you're thinking about that. Of course, you're already, congratulations, committed to Mizzou. I saw that on Twitter.
Thank you.
Staying home. I like that personally. I enjoyed watching Norfleet playing football on Saturdays, man. That's fun.
Every Saturday.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
It is. It's a lot of fun. So when we're talking about the level of competition, you're with the Rawlings Tigers, correct? When I'm talking about teams and how we travel and kids preparing as far as AAA, AA, all that stuff, when we're talking 8 to 14. Does that really matter now?
I don't think it does. I feel like as you grow and develop, you're going to become the baseball player you are. So if you play single A when you're 8, you're probably still going to be playing the same level as someone as soon as you get to high school as a freshman. So as soon as you hit high school, I feel like a lot of people play the same level. It just depends on if you want to play on a team where you're going out across the country to get exposure, or play on a team where there's really, really good competition, or staying a little closer to home where maybe the tournaments aren't so serious and it's just more for fun.
Yeah. Do you think when you're out playing in these tournaments, are most of the guys you're playing against at a D1 level?
I would say no, but everyone can definitely develop to become that way. But I feel like when you're playing right now, it's just sometimes kids or sometimes teams in general are just not the same level as other ones. So I'd say everyone can definitely work to become a Division I player, but right now I think it's still too scattered to know so.
I understand. Darren, and when you're coaching in high school, you see a lot, all these kids coming in from different programs and whatnot. And it is different levels and where they're at, and bring that. What do you think of that expansion as far as from playing nationally to regionally?
Yeah.
What do you say to kids?
I mean, it's always going to go back to, you got to find the best fit for you. And I personally think traveling nationally or even regionally, most kids are going to go to school within 4 or 5 hours of home anyway. Right. So unless now there is that next tier, and Ty played with GBA for a couple of years, and then he went to the scout team, and there definitely was a jump from like GBA to the scout team, because I think 8 or 9 of the guys on his scout team were D1.
Right.
So now they're at USA Baseball playing against different competition. So you have his experience, and then you have other kids that are playing locally with clubs. You just got to find what's best for you, because the reality is most kids aren't going to go play in college, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Like, enjoy playing, getting playing time. That's why you play the game. It's not to be on the best team sitting on the bench. I want to enjoy being on the field. And I think people chase the best team instead of the best fit.
I agree, and I think that's a big key. Can I play? Do I get to play? I don't want to sit and watch other people play. I mean, if you wanted to go to Mizzou and you knew you couldn't play ball, but you just wanted to go to Mizzou, and the coach, you're on the team and you're watching, okay, I'm doing what I want to do anyway. But if you really want to play, you've got to find that fit. You can't just say, I'm going to go there because you ain't that good, bro. I'm sorry. And the tough thing is, I know I said that out loud, but I don't think, and I don't think this is a negative. I'm not trying to be negative towards parents. That's not it, because I think all parents want the best for their kids. There are some crazy folks out there. We understand that. But I've also met some crazy coaches. So, I mean.
And that's, to me, when you go to find a team, and I'll tell anyone, if you find a good coach, stick with the coach. If you find a good coach and you find a good set of parents, they're all on the same page, don't leave, because it's not going to get better with the next coach or the next team. I mean, you're there to have fun. And there are very few quality coaches coaching from 8 to 14. No offense, but I mean, if they take care of your kid and they don't burn them out and teach them the fundamentals, stay there. And I know both these guys have seen from 10 to 14, whoever had the best season the year before, all the kids want to go to that team.
Right.
And then it was the next year, and you had these kids that jumped every year, and to me, it defeats the purpose of, like, you're trying to develop the kid, and if the coach is only there 1 year with the kid, if it's a quality coach, it takes longer than 1 year. You're trying to build on what you taught the year before.
When you guys go to a tournament in the summertime, especially on a national level, right? What are you trying to accomplish?
I mean, for me, it's just honestly just trying to put myself in the best situations to make sure I'm playing at my best and I'm getting the exposure that I need, all the preparation that I do in the off season, and just like making sure all my tools are being shown. I think that's the biggest thing. Is like, if like for me, I'm a speed guy, so make sure I get my best time home to first, or like stealing bases or whatever, just like showing what you're good at and letting whoever's there watch you.
Saw a little pop in the bat this summer too, bro. That's good stuff.
That came out a little bit.
I feel like at the national level, as soon as you start moving and play nationally, a lot of the competition and guys start to kind of be similar. Like, everyone's very, very good. So I feel like when I'm at a big tournament or I'm with kids that are from all over the country, I try and find like small little moments in a game where it can make me stand out, or make a college coach say, hey, you got a good jump on that dirt ball read or something like that. So
Yeah.
some like the little things like that can really make a college really interested in you.
You got to find a separator, don't you? Yeah, I think because I've said this a lot. I believe this very much. We watch professional baseball, right? There are, 4 teams left, correct? And let's say 4 of the best teams with the best records aren't there. Then you have teams that won 60-some games. Why? These are the best baseball players in the world. And I think that's the difference. That's when you realize those things, I think it's very interesting to find how do you separate yourself and what makes you different from somebody and bringing you into a program. Because in the end, when you're in college, those guys are paid to win.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things is attention to detail. Like at all these tournaments, like whenever some of the kids are just like not taking it seriously, like your attention to every small thing in like the game that you or others may not think it's like a big deal, but coaches will see. So that's the separators, attention to detail, and he talks about it all the time at our Howell practice and stuff. Just like making sure you pay attention to like all the details, and just because that's what I feel like makes teams and players like be separated from like the pack kind of.
I agree. Let's talk a little bit about your recruiting situation. You know, your experience with that. When did you first get contacted by a recruiter, and what was that like for you?
I think it was my sophomore summer.
And that's before the rule change too.
Before the rule change. Yeah. But it started off pretty slow, and then I made my commitment pretty early the first time, and then once the coaching staff changed, I decided to reopen it up. But yeah.
How many schools did you visit? Well, and let's back up. How many schools were you interested in?
Really interested in. There's probably at the beginning. There's probably 5 to 10 that I was like really interested in. There's a lot of schools that will contact you, but I think it's more finding my values and the things that I'm looking for and that I think are important into a school, and then narrowing it down after that. But I only took visits to 3 or 4 schools because those are the only ones that I was like really interested in.
May I ask which ones you visited?
Yeah, it was KU, Mizzou, Missouri State. I went there, and then I was going to go to Indiana and TCU, but at the end I decided Mizzou was the best fit, so I didn't go.
So you did 3 basically
3,
visits, yeah. How about yourself?
I did 2 visits. I did one to Missouri State, which the process with them was great. Like, I started talking to them last fall after I did a camp, so it was a long process. And then as the new rules came in this past spring, it kind of gave me a little break to process everything. And then as the summer was over, I felt less stressed, and then I got to do my visit to Missouri State and then my visit to Mizzou. And then as I left Mizzou, it just felt in my gut like it's where I wanted to be.
I think that's a great point. You start feeling the pressure because if a coach is really interested in you, he wants you to come. So he's pressing, right?
Yeah, I think it's more like I don't know. For me, it was like all like there's a lot of schools that like will reach out and like contact you and like will like really push at you. But I feel like the ones that I was at least most interested in like were super understanding. Like they were like we're not really gonna like put you on a time limit. I know some coaches like kind of give you a certain time to like commit or something like that. But I think it was important to find the schools that the coaches you fit best with and like all your values are like being like fulfilled at that school.
Interesting. How about yourself?
I just found that for me throughout the process, the connection was important. So as I went through talking to colleges and stuff, the ones that I found that cared the most were the ones that I was the most interested in. So it wasn't necessarily all about the baseball. It was more about the connection and how well I got along with the staff and people like that.
On the visits, and that's something that's interesting to me. I understand the baseball. You see the facilities. We saw the picture of you guys at the football game. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love that? But what about campus life? What part of the visit really says this is how school's going to be? Because once you get past the hype, the football game, all that stuff, it's going to class like you were in high school, right?
Yeah, I think it was like the Kansas one. It was a great visit. I think they did a great job of showing the campus and like what school would be like, driving you around campus, like showing you like where you eat, this what class would be or this class would be. So giving like a more like a full picture and like a more like a personalized like kind of tour of like what college life really would look like. So I think that was important to know also, like going into it, not just the baseball field and not necessarily just baseball, just everything around the campus and what has to do with that college.
Because as a parent, hang on to your thought, Leo. Because as a parent, that's what I'd want to know, right?
Oh, and that's what, like when we were at Mizzou, originally we went with Beezer and got to meet a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Then with Coach Jackson, we went back. But meeting with the academic advisor and seeing how they structure the academic like supports, what they do for them academically, that's to me more important than the baseball stuff's going to be the baseball stuff.
Yeah.
But to go meet with the academic advisor and see all the supports that are in place for those kids there, I mean, I believe he told us when we were there that 100% of the baseball players get their degree.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Like, I forgot this, but it's something, and he went through how many hours on average the average Missouri baseball player takes to get their degree. I think it was like 122 for 120. So those are the things, seeing like the cafeteria where they eat and just all the training facilities, the rehab, all those extra things, strength and conditioning, all those things that are behind the scenes that people don't think about, but that's what makes the on-field performance better, is all those supports. So as a parent, that was really important to me. And Missouri State, a lot of schools have them. It's just obviously the higher you go, the SEC has more money to invest in the resources. So there's more resources there than at KU or at Missouri State. Nothing against those schools. They're tremendous programs.
Right.
But as a parent, I'm like, hey, all the help you can get, I'm in.
Yeah. I understand that. How about yourself?
When I went on my visits before I was actually on campus, I talked to my parents and like, you got to focus on the academic part of things, because at the end of the day, baseball is going to come to an end and you're going to have to work someday. So when I was at Mizzou, getting to hear
Bummer.
getting to hear how organized and all the resources that they had was very helpful, because as the academic guy in charge, Clay, told us, he was talking about how he has people that are basically not having to be asked to come in there. Like, he's having to ask them to leave because he's so helpful to them. So that's a helpful thing for me to know, because, I mean, I like to go far with work after baseball. So having a good degree or knowledge of what I want to do in life is also important.
So tell me, what degree? If you haven't made a decision, that's fine. I understand. But is there a thought process?
I mean, it's gonna be something with business, but I'm not sure what
yeah.
specifically yet.
Yeah, I understand. How about yourself?
I'm looking into it's like fitness programming and management. It's kind of like what Andrew Helmick does and kind of what Brett Graves does, like a mixture of them.
Oh, yeah.
So
Very nice.
Yeah.
I like that. And I think that's life after baseball. There has to be, I think, that structure in place. So let's forget that for a minute. I want to come back to this, because now we're into that recruiting process. I know that both of you gentlemen are ranked nationally in both PG and PBR at pretty good levels. So that tells me that you have an opportunity. You've got your schooling. You're going to have an opportunity to reach to another level. Whatever happens, injury, everything can, Was that a thought process in Mizzou when you start looking at choosing a school? How am I getting to the next level?
I think that's for sure a thought. I don't think like rankings are really everything, but I think for me at least, like it was super important 2 years ago whenever I went to the scout team with the Royals, like putting myself in a position to be playing around some like the best players in the state and country, to kind of know where I stack up against them and like the players I'm playing against as well. And I think after like playing against and with some of those guys, like knowing that you're like not like far off from that, and then like picking a school that you can go to and not only like love the school and the environment, but get playing time early. And like I think that was the most important thing, just like getting somewhere that I can play as soon as possible and make an impact on the field.
I got to bring this up because to me this is fun, this conversation. You played with him this summer, Mr. Trey Schneider, going to Tennessee, going to Mizzou. Guys will be facing off again.
For sure.
Coach Stiegel believes he's the best player in the state. What do you think?
I mean, I'm not gonna.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I'm friends with Trey. I'm never gonna I'm not gonna put him in front of me. But I'm not gonna. He's a great player.
He is a great player.
I mean, he does a lot of things well. Defensively, he's unbelievable, and then his bat as well. He'll get an opportunity to play at Tennessee. So yeah, he's a great player.
I think they have different strengths. I mean, Trey's a pure shortstop, and he's phenomenal defensively. I mean, he's tremendous.
Yeah.
He does everything. I mean, his strength is more versatility and being able to do different things, switch hit. So, and that's why I think with the rankings, and we've talked about rankings a lot, it's tough to compare.
It really is.
And especially Kevin Mulder might want to consider, as they get older as POs, it's really tough to compare a Cole Gibbler, who's a PO, and Trey Snyder that just plays shortstop, because they project differently.
And he knows it, and that's
it's just hard.
And that's what Kevin says all the time on the show. And to your point, he says, "Look, this is going to change next week." I mean, you know, it's not an exact science.
No, it's easier to look at Trey Snyder, Grant Hollister, and Ty because they're all position players. They all hit. They all play defense. But then the POs are a completely different realm of. As you get older, there's such differences.
The rankings, in my opinion, are just for the scouts, and it should be left there. I mean, you know, go play on the field and let your play.
And the reality is, scouts don't look at them. I mean, not to be the scouts for the most part. When Mizzou comes or Tennessee, Arkansas, whoever comes and watches these guys, they don't care what they're ranked. They're looking at
skills. They've looked at the metrics. They understand all that, but they don't care exactly where they don't. They're seeing the metrics, what they think about it and whatnot, and then they go watch the kid play. And that's what it's for. I mean, the rankings are for 8 to 14-year-olds who don't understand the process yet.
I think the rankings are. I'm thankful for them. I mean, I think they're tremendous things. It brings people's names up. You become familiar with them. And I think a lot of kids, I know for Ty, it motivated him a lot to be like, oh, I'm here.
Right.
That motivation, not that that's the whole motivation, but you do want to compete. Competitors want to compete. And if they're down on the list, all of a sudden they want to start jumping up that list. And I know a lot of those kids, when those rankings come out, it adds a little chip to their shoulder of like, oh, you still think that kid's better than me. And it's just not one kid. That's a common response.
I think it's a fair thing. And you know, because we've been the last 2 years, and we'll come back out in February. I like the one big one that Kevin does, the PBR event at Sports Barn.
Yeah.
And you were there a couple of years ago, and I've talked to Holubowski, who was there, and guys.
Peter.
Yeah, exactly. And all of them said, I'm here to see where I stack up with the other players that are ranked, and not because I think I'm better than them or whatnot, but I need to know where I'm at as far as where recruiting is. And I think that's the biggest factor in those things. Would you agree, Leo?
I would agree with that. I mean, I agree with everything you guys have said, but like the rankings for me they don't mean a lot, but like Cissell said, like it's just throwing another chip on your shoulder. Like when I see that maybe I'm moving up in the rankings or I get moved down a few spots, it motivates me to work harder and be a better player so that I can move back up. But for me, it doesn't really mean that much because at the end of the day, your metrics only mean so much because if you can't perform in a game, then there's nothing to it.
And I was fortunate this last summer. We live streamed the American Legion AAA state championships. I saw a lot of guys from state championship teams playing on those squads.
Yeah.
From Jackson, from Festus. There was some other guys. I'll tell you what, I saw, and honestly, a young man that probably didn't get a lot of publicity, but Washington, the shortstop, Sam Pauley.
Oh, yeah.
Sam Pauley can play. My goodness.
Yeah. They had two kids on that team. That pitcher.
Matchell?
Trent. He went to Marbury.
Trent. Yeah.
Whatever he threw against, I would. If you ask our hitters who were the toughest to hit this year, he's at the top of the list.
Really?
He was I mean, he shut us out. He may have I don't know if he hit us, but
Season
I know it was a
opener.
close game.
Trent, whatever it is.
Yeah.
What that kid is very
Grant
talented.
Trentman.
Yes. So, and those are the kids. They're not highly touted. They're on no rankings. Then you see him and you're like, this kid's different. Like he had developed tremendously. And he was a competitor. I love that kid.
Yeah.
So I'm curious where he'll end up.
And they had Adam Pekka in center field that ran down balls all over the place. And so I think that's always interesting. And we're doing this game. Sedalia was in that. They were like 36-4. And I don't care what level you win 36 games. It's impressive.
Yeah.
And it showed because they had a young man from Knob Noster.
Yeah.
Right? I'd never heard of Knob Noster, period, anyway. I don't know where Knob Noster is.
Only reason I know is because my wife is down from that way.
Okay.
Right outside of Tightwad. So I wish I was kidding.
Class 4 school. His name's Josh Hagel. Wow. He's undersized.
Yeah.
That's really his only detriment. He played shortstop. He's probably he doesn't have the big arm. So, he would project more on the other side of the infield. But, man, he gets to everything. He made play after play. And I'm just watching this kid play baseball, having fun. Yeah. Got on the mound in some late innings through 85 to 88. I'm like, where'd this kid come from?
Yeah.
And that's what I think is so interesting about baseball. Sometimes you don't know where these kids are. And affording opportunities, and you guys have been, and that's the biggest thing is how do we create the opportunities? And that's where I think parents don't understand necessarily how. If you can get to a PBR event and get in front of somebody that sees you, that doesn't mean you have to go everywhere and whatnot. But if you can get somebody to see you, I think that's the biggest key, right?
Yeah, I think honestly the preparation is the biggest thing. Like you preparing for whatever opportunity may present itself, and then just performing. I mean, if you're good enough to play, you're gonna get fined at like no matter what. I mean, I played with GBA my freshman and sophomore year, and it's not like the biggest program or like the biggest organization, but it's like I felt like I was good enough, so like I put the work in and like I got noticed for it. So like I feel like if you're putting in the work and you get an opportunity, people will notice it.
Absolutely. Well, and what was it like playing as a freshman?
It's a different experience because you definitely have more eyes on you, expecting a lot from you, but at the end of the day, you just got to play your game because it's just baseball. But I loved it because it motivated me. Once again, it motivated me more because I knew that I was going to be facing some of the best arms in the state. So I enjoyed it because at the end of the day, it made me a better player.
I think that sounds just like the kid for the Rangers.
Carter.
Yeah. He's like, they're interviewing him after that one game. He says, we're just playing baseball. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
A lot of those guys, and both of these guys went through it. And the thing, playing as a freshman, like Nolan Cissell, to say it's difficult is one thing because you're coming up and taking the friend of a senior's position or a junior's position.
Yeah.
And then you got the parents that are upset because their kid's not playing because you brought up a freshman. And there's a lot of dynamics behind that that they both felt going through it, that you feel like you have to perform, even though, I mean, Leo, the first day MVP, hit one off the softball dugout. Like, after BP, I literally pulled him aside. I'm like, you're not going to play anything but varsity this year, so just relax and start playing, because I'd just gone through it with Ty the year before. It's tough. And then you get a lot of the schools around that like to talk in the stands and overrate it to a lot of other things that are said.
It's part of it.
It is, but I think that prepares, like Evan Carter prepares him. I'm sure he played up growing up. Sure. When they get to Mizzou, they're going to go through it again. So they've had this experience of having to overcome and block out the noise and play. And they both did it extremely well. And Nolan Sissom and some of these other guys, it's tough. It's not that easy to play as a freshman. Grant Hollister did it. Trey Snyder.
There's very few guys that can do it, in my estimation.
I mean, talent you have to be able to do, but mentally is.
We talk about this because, Kevin says this on the show all the time. You know, this when you're talking about high school to college, he said none of these kids can go and play at the college level. He said it's the difference between, that's why they call it boys high school baseball and men's college baseball. Well, as a freshman, you're talking about playing with kids that are 17, 18 years old as a 15-year-old, right? I mean, I don't care.
Or 14.
14, yeah.
I mean, he was
right?
14. I was
14.
like,
that's a huge, physically,
yeah.
it's just different. And you can say what you want to, but those things factor in. They really do. Last thing here, real quick. Senior year, right?
Yep.
What is it? Freshman, you guys got taken down by West.
Yep.
That was a great game. I know but it was a really great game. I enjoyed watching it.
Yep.
I know it wasn't for you guys. I get it.
That was great.
It's okay.
Let's talk about it some more.
Taking that next year, you guys finished third, sophomore year.
Mm-hmm.
Your freshman year. Last year, you finished second.
Yep.
Right?
I mean, we got to win it this year.
I mean, honestly, you look at that trend. I mean, it's your senior year. You get dressed up, might as well go, right?
Yeah, I'm excited to go out with the group of guys we got. Our pitching is going to be loaded this year, and then we're bringing back hitters too. But I think it'll be fun. I don't think there's really, I wouldn't say any pressure, but I'm just going to go out there and have fun my senior year, and then whatever happens. But obviously, just going to go and compete and make it as far as we can.
I think it's so difficult with the way the structure is now with 8 teams. You have 8 districts. Conference or district championships, in my opinion, are state semifinal, state championships, right?
I mean, I feel like last year when we played West in the district championship, I mean, going into it, we didn't beat them at all this year, but it was quite the experience because it's more exciting than, in my opinion, playing at state because you're going against a team that you've wanted to beat so bad all year. So playing in front of a lot of people, having your friends there supporting you, and going out there and just performing and winning the game was one of the biggest things for me. So that was probably one of my favorite games of the year.
It was good. You guys took it. I was surprised. And no offense to because West, I mean, they grind. That is a grind out team, man. My goodness.
Coach Goff, I grew up playing with Coach. I've known Coach Goff since I was 5 years old.
Yeah. And
he does a tremendous job of making sure that they are all on the same page, that they play with energy, they play fundamentally, they play well. And I mean, I respect, of all the coaches in the area, there's only a couple that I would want my son playing for. He's one of them. I mean, I love that guy.
Yeah, I like Coach Goff. He's fun to talk to. I love the energy, right? And, but Liberty North, they won in a walk-off to get to the Final Four.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I mean. These district title games are unbelievable. That's how I think the talent down in the Southwest, Nick's is going to be a tough one. And how hard is it to get to the Final Four?
I mean, it's extremely difficult. I mean, the competition around here has been insane the last couple of years, but the arms we see now some of them are about as good as we see at the national level when we're traveling in the summers. So, I mean, the competition is great, but it's always like fun to play against and see where you stack up. So,
absolutely. Hey, might as well, right?
I'm just happy Deverman's gone.
Oh boy.
I'm glad a lot of the pitching in the conference has gone away.
Yeah.
Whistler and Deverman a couple years ago, no.
That was dynamic, wasn't it?
And it's every school. Lane Harris, and there's so many great pitchers that you're just not gonna get an easy game in the GAC.
No, you're not. And you guys are gonna get to play with Whistler this time, so that'll be nice, right?
Yeah. The last time I faced him, I think, was in the district championship. So yeah, it'll be fun to play with him again. So
yeah, absolutely. And there is still good pitching. You guys, I think it'll be a fun season. We're looking forward to it.
It always is.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's bring it down to this one. I appreciate Darren sent me a lot of information. I looked through a lot of stuff. It was fascinating. It was I was like, oh wow, this is a lot different than what I thought it was. And then when you sent the information, I'd sent you the deal. They were talking about the House bill. I didn't know he'd already signed it.
Yeah, August 28th, I believe.
To me, I think that's a little bit much, personally. But let me preface what we're talking about. So we're talking about NIL. If you don't know what NIL means, it just simply means name, image, and likeness. Okay. Ed O'Bannon. I remember watching Ed O'Bannon play in the Final Four. That was back in the day.
Yeah.
And he sued the NC2A. This is why you can't play EA NC2A football anymore, because they took it off the shelves because of this lawsuit that has ushered in everything we're seeing. Because O'Bannon said, you're making money off of my name, my image, my likeness. Yeah. And I think it's wrong. And I don't disagree with him in that respect. I thought the lawsuit was correct in that respect. But I don't know if we were really quite prepared for what it brought to bear.
It's NCAA football's back, by the way, this year.
Yes, it
with
is.
The NIL.
Yeah.
So if you want to play that, go ahead. NIL, and I've had mixed opinions, especially with the transfer portal. I mean, the shift, and even with Ty committing at the beginning of a sophomore year, this year through was a completely different experience, because there are talks of NIL within those conversations with schools, and different schools handle it differently. And it's a difficult topic because no one really talks about it, and really the only schools that are dealing with it are the Big 12, Big 10, SEC. And I think, Missouri State's a tremendous school. They have a tremendous program. Their success speaks for itself. Mm-hmm. NIL could really hurt because they're not capable, at least at this point, to do NIL stuff, but Mizzou can. And that's where, if you have a kid that's in between schools, they love both schools, they're going to hopefully go to what fits them best. Mm-hmm. The NIL should never dictate where you're going, and NIL can't dictate, a coach can't say, if you come here, I'll give you X amount of dollars. Right. But the opportunity,
I'll set you up for opportunities to. Right.
Yeah, I mean, until they sign their letter of intent, the specifics of NIL and the opportunities, they don't know. Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be nothing, it could be whatever. And that's the difficult part. It's different from school to school. It's different from coaching staff to coaching staff. And for me personally, I'm thankful for it as a parent. If he can earn some money while in school,
sure, that's
a tremendous opportunity. I know some people get into, they're getting their school paid for and that's enough. But in my situation personally, I worked my whole life to get drafted. I got hurt a month before the draft. Compound fracture. My career was essentially over at that point. So where I was projected in the third, fourth round in the draft, I dropped down. I lost all that money.
Right.
Where if I was getting compensated while playing, at least I would have had something, all the work I put in that people don't really.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about $1 million worth of money.
Right.
But these guys put in a lot of work. I mean, get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and the stuff they do to play at the level they're going to play at it takes exceptional discipline.
College athletics is a job.
Absolutely.
You can say what you want to. It is. It's a job, and it's tough sometimes. I think there are certain freshmen that go into it at every level and don't quite understand what they're in for. Agreed?
Yeah, I would say for sure, because especially some of the guys I've talked to just at Mizzou and some of these other schools that are freshmen there and sophomores even there, but their days, I know Brett Norfleet, for example, his days are jam-packed full of school, workouts, eating, more school, and football. So there's not much time. It's a full-time job. That's what you're doing. It's what you're getting there. That's what you're getting paid to do. So I feel like you just need to be prepared for that going into school and be ready to do whatever it takes to play.
Name, image, and likeness. You're going to have to be kind of a superstar, right? To warrant, and this is when I started reading the stuff you sent me. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, you've got to market yourself. Basically, if you really want to put yourself in opportunity to take advantage of NIL.
Yeah. And like
Your
with the
name,
law
image,
that
and likeness.
the law they put in, I think college coaches can now assist in that process more so than they could in the past.
Agreed. Right.
And I think, okay, I know there's more money being paid in college baseball than people know about. Like the average SEC baseball player, if they're starting and doing well, they're making a substantial amount of money. Like more so than what when I say substantial, it's worth.
Now let's talk about this real quick, okay? Because in the basis of it, it's the basis of name, image, and likeness. It says you guys could go and sign autographs at the local pub and grill, right? Because the owner says, hey, we've got these two Mizzou superstars coming. Come out, have some burgers, beer, whatever the case may be, and they'll sign an autograph for you. They compensate you. You just have to make sure that the school knows that you're doing this, and there's situations that work through that. That's the basis of
Name,
image, and likeness.
and that's my understanding of what I've read and what from talking to the staff. Once, like this year, November 8th, he signs his letter of intent. I believe they will educate him, both of them, when they sign about the guidelines, the rules, the law, like all that stuff. And that's until they sign and go through that process. Like it's tough to say what that looks like.
Right. And just in the information from the website, I'd imagine you guys have looked through it. When I was reading through that, you can hire a professional to help you with contracts and things of that nature as well. Because, I mean, have you ever looked at a contract, read a contract, signed a contract? Right?
Nope.
Would you know what you're looking for?
Probably not.
Right.
Not right now.
And I think these are things that are very interesting to me when
Yeah.
I started looking at this long term. How does an athlete who's coming into school and maybe has this opportunity, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Do I hire somebody who, mom, dad, do they really know? Mom, dad are not there. And I think this gets into some really sticky stuff for an athlete, right?
Yeah, I think it can, but for me personally, I know like Brett Graves and some of the guys that have already went through it that I'm close with can assist in that experience and that process with me. So for me, I don't really think it's necessary, but I can see how it could be fortunate, or like it could help other people in that process. But luckily for me, I've had people like my dad that have went through contracts and like just to help me out through it. But yeah.
Are you looking at those things at this point?
Not yet.
Not yet. So let's put this into perspective this way, Leo. With what he said, I think that's a very interesting point. You're going to Mizzou. Are you working on developing those relationships with people that are here in the baseball community, guys that you mentor or whatnot, that can help you and help you guide you through that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely already have resources. Like with Rawlings Tigers, I have Evan Pratt, who was with Mizzou for 15 years. So I have the resources I need. I just haven't started using them yet.
Right. I get it. And I think that's going to become important within the clubs too, is it not?
Yeah, I think it will. I'm not sure. For me, at least, I'm done with summer ball, so I'm kind of out on that. But for him, next year, it could definitely be a factor.
I believe that. That's because it's interesting to see. So let me ask you guys. Is there a situation within this NIL, I don't know if you're aware of this, to where there's just a overarching fund for teams? Because I think this is where my mind was always, and it's just split up between players.
From what I understand, I'm not positive like what schools get, or if there's like an overall like whatever. But I just know that whenever I can get on campus, that I'll have opportunities to make like my own like earnings from like pursuing those like
Gotcha.
like certain.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that you're just automatically going to get it,
Yeah.
but you will definitely have the opportunities to market yourself.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes for anyone like anyone like I guess in college baseball now or whatever sport, like the opportunity with NIL stuff now. you can kind of market yourself and put yourself out there to certain companies to like make stuff, but I don't think there's any like certain number that you just like get.
Perfect for the business guy, right? There you go. Well, I think this is interesting when you start looking at this. That kind of helps you understand how to, if you're entrepreneurship, how do you market yourself? I mean, I'm a business owner. I've made plenty of, missed that one. You know, I think it's an interesting opportunity to learn how to present yourself, how to market yourself, because in the end, it is you, right? That's what when you're going out and watching you've got to learn how to develop those relationships with people that are business long term.
Well, even like social media plays a large role, and that's what, even like with the recruiting process, I know for Ty, majority of the contacts came through social media. They didn't go through coaches. They didn't call Coach Perkins. They didn't call, like it legitimately was, they'd follow him on social media, look through social media, and I'm sure Leo had this, where they're going through that. And that's where, if you're looking for NIL stuff, what you're putting on social media becomes a really big deal. If you got stuff on there that's going to market you in a negative light, a company is not going to support you. So social media is tricky already, but for athletes that potentially could be looking at NIL stuff, what they're putting out there, what they're liking, what they're like, that's all part of the marketing process that's really important for them to understand. And I think club baseball is definitely going to have to start teaching that more. The recruiting process, a lot of the stuff that's becoming, the amount of questions I get about that process, it's I teach in school, so it's part of the reason I get those questions. But social media is a large part of NIL. It's a large part of recruiting. I mean, they look at that first.
What class do you teach there?
So I wrote a class probably 10 years ago. It's called Sports Enhancement, where we focus on plyometrics, reaction, balance, like a lot of the auxiliary stuff. But then we go to the classroom part. We go through NCAA recruiting. We go through mental performance training. We have like Brett Graves come in and talk about playing at the college level. We'll have college coaches talk. It's just kids that are interested in playing in college. There's not a lot of education out there, and each club does it a little differently. So basically the high school, we have that within the high school, especially Francis Howell. There's a lot of athletes that are going to go on and play at the next level. It's just helping them prepare for that.
So there's not every school kind of offers something of that nature.
How Central, how North, our district does.
Yeah.
But to my knowledge, that's the only one in the state. That's the only class in the state that we created that is available for athletes.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay. Well, here's something. This is that article you passed along to me. I thought was interesting. That Mike Parsons signed legislation Tuesday. Now this is from August 15th, though, folks. So, giving coaches in Missouri a more active role in endorsement opportunities for their athletes. Now, this is college coaches, and this is kind of what you said. So, do you have a little, is there information more to that part of it that you guys know?
So, the only thing that Coach Jackson has communicated is basically he communicates the law. Hey, this went into effect. So when you sign your letter of intent, after that we'll discuss what opportunities may look like his senior year. So
Gotcha.
That law basically, potentially, and who knows what the opportunities are, if someone wanted to pay him compensate him for whatever, he could do it and still be eligible this year in high school, which is really strange to me. But at the same time, take advantage of it because it's going to change in the next couple of years.
But the rule states, and this is what was interesting, because the rule states that you're not being paid to play.
No.
Which is what amateurism is about. This is about your name, your image, and your likeness. So they've separated the two, which I think is interesting, personally, right?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's not just now you're playing baseball and you're going to get paid for playing baseball. It's how you carry yourself off the field, where you're pursuing these opportunities at, who you're talking to, what things you're posting. I think it's like more of a all around, like you're marketing yourself at this point. So it's kind of what I'm going through right now. I've talked to Brett Graves a bunch about it, just because I know he has deals with companies, and just talking to him about it, just like how to brand yourself and like just carrying yourself everywhere you go is super important. So
Absolutely. I think it's a fascinating thing because, I've watched athletes over the years, and you see the ones that are successful and whatnot, they made all their business off their name, image.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson. He made his fortune based on his name, his image, and his likeness. He played basketball because he wanted to play basketball. So is that something you think about?
Well,
Not yet?
Yeah, not yet. But adding on to what he was talking about with the NIL stuff, I also think it's like a really big character building thing. Like, it's not just all about the baseball part of things. It's about how you hold yourself accountable off the field, and the decisions you make off the field are just as important as the ones that people see when you're playing on the field.
I agree. I concur. Because if you see me here today, I'm not a different person when I am who I say I am. And I think that's important. And to me, that's what NIL is. When you say, what's my name? Who am I as a person? This is what I'm like. That has to be a consistent piece of, I don't, did you see that guy over there? Yeah, no.
And that's even the NIL stuff, like in high school, hypothetically, if a high school kid's getting paid, at least like me and his mom can start talking to him about budget and finances. And that education piece is important, especially for the elite kids that potentially could get drafted or make money. Them learning how to manage money now is really important skill. Mm-hmm. So not that he's going to be making money his senior year, but if he did, at least he's within the house, and it's another teaching opportunity from accountability to I think there's a lot of positives to it, but it does. I know in the recruiting process, there were some schools that were quick to point out that, hey, we're a top 10 NIL school. Like, there were some schools that talked about, we might not have scholarship, but if you get here, we can get NIL money for you. That also runs into, there's no promises. There's no guarantees on that.
No, that's not a guarantee.
So, and I think that's where, like, there's positive and there's pros and cons to it.
Absolutely. As there is, I think,
Yes.
with everything. You ever worked at McDonald's? No? Yeah. You got a job?
Not right now.
Not right
Need to
now.
get one soon, though.
We need to get one soon. And there's the key to this. And this is, I was talking to my wife last night when I was going through this stuff. And I thought this, to your point, Leo, you got a kid that's in high school playing ball, playing sports, and what you guys are doing. It does take up a lot of time if you're playing at a high level and things. You go to work at McDonald's, you get a job as, a Joe job. It's a high school job, whatever the case may be. You want to make a little cash because you want to take the girlfriend out on Saturday night. Okay, fantastic. What's the difference if, as a senior, and I've signed that, and there's an opportunity for me to work, and this is what it is. I'm not getting paid to play, and I think this is an interesting dynamic of this. Can it be abused? Absolutely. Anything can be abused.
Yeah.
But it's the people keeping it from being abused. And if you got a young man that's a senior and he's going out and he can go and make some money for himself, I don't have a problem with that, personally.
Yeah, and I think it's good as well because it's like, instead of like going and getting a job and like, because like for me, I train like a lot, so it does take up like time. Like a job that I'd go work like would take up time out of like my training hours and like stuff like that, which I do pretty much like all night long and like throughout the day before school and stuff. So like me, if I was able to have these opportunities to make some extra cash or to make some extra money or these like have these opportunities set in place for me, it's like big for me because I can train as hard as I want for as long as I want and still have these opportunities to be getting compensated. So instead of having a job, it could like kind of make up for that.
I agree. I don't, and that was one of the things that really jumped out at me with that scenario. I thought it was interesting. And we had just a conversation this last weekend. We were at the bat demonstration with Prime Sports. And Jacob Walters, who the owner of Jaw Bats, he started in college. He started making bats. In college, he's playing baseball. Probably knew he was pretty average. So I'm looking at what I can do to start my career, and I think it's smart. And those are things to me that are very interesting. He was still playing ball, making bats for his buddies. He goes, they weren't very good, but
no, it's,
but
and that's why I think like he wouldn't be having these conversations with Brett Graves or Andrew Helmick at Pride Fitness out there. Like he's able to talk about like that. How do you market? How do you run business stuff? That he would never have that conversation if NIL wasn't in place. Like he'd have no need to sit down with Brett and be like, hey, how do I market in social media?
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't be there. So it's an extension of education that I don't think was intended, but it is happening. And I'm curious, I don't know what's going to look like in 5 years, but from his experience, I think it's been very positive. I don't think as far as him signing at Mizzou or another school that it played a role.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Leo would answer for himself, but I think most guys, and I would hope they're picking based on the coaching staff, like Coach Jackson. I think he's going to do a tremendous job. I mean, he's recruiting hard, and that staff up there from LeBlanc to Jabari, like that staff that he's put together is tremendous. And it might take a couple years, but I fully believe he's going to be able to do something special at Mizzou.
I've been watching on social media, and he's been posting some little videos and whatnot. I loved his line, Coach Jackson's line about destination.
Yeah.
He said it's not, something we're trying to go or reach. No, it's our destination. We're going there. Just see how long it takes us to get there. And I thought that was, I really thought, I like that. So it'll be interesting to see how well he does. What do you guys think, as far as the coaching staff? I mean, I'm sure you talked to Coach Jackson, but is there another person in that coaching staff that really stood out to you?
Coach Carvalho, he took me on just like a little cart ride, and I mean, we had a great connection. Coach Brown, LeBlanc, and then Coach Jackson, obviously. But I love all of them. I'm excited to play for him, and I think it'd be a good fit for me. So
yeah.
I talked to Coach LeBlanc a lot. He was the one that I started talking to first, and I just felt like the connection was there. Like he was doing little things, reaching out, asking how school was going or how homecoming went, stuff like that. So the connection became better. And then when I went on my visit, I still talked to the other coaches on the phone a few times before, but getting to see them in person and see how well they all get along, and then get along with the players and the other recruits and stuff like that, it just showed that the family connection was there. So
Yeah.
It's definitely something that made me look forward to going to the school.
I want to ask you guys this within this, because you're talking about connection, and I think there is. I look at when I meet all kinds of people all the time. I have my entire life. It's what I do. I talk, right? Relationally, I believe relatability. How do you relate to somebody? Can somebody relate to you? And I think in that you find people that I think are really genuine, right? Is that something is there people that you met, is that when you're talking about that connection, is that what it means to you guys? Do you see things that maybe aren't, I don't know if that's as genuine, but this guy, I believe that.
yeah, for sure. There's a lot of coaches that would, like, whenever you're talking to, it's kind of like just kind of small talk, and they're gonna say the exact same thing every time, and it's just kind of like an automated response back, and just like the same conversation over and over. But the coaches that you can really find a connection and go a little off topic from baseball and like learn about personal life and stuff like that. Those are the coaches, for me at least, that I had a lot more interest in those schools. And TCU, that was the other school I was really considering going to. That coaching staff did like a great job, like making like a personal connection and like genuine connections. And then just all the factors that going to Mizzou, all the connections that I made with the coaches. That was kind of the final decision.
Yeah.
And Coach Jackson, when he talked to me and my parents, we sat down and talked for a while, and getting to hear his view of how he sees how he's going to change the program or make it better, or just how he's going to coach, was the thing that got me attached, because it was what I was looking for. So that's like the connection I had, was the way that he planned on coaching in the future was the way that I planned on like seeing myself at a college. So that's why like I really, really got interested.
And I think that's the most important thing. I'm a businessman first and foremost. I own my own business. It's the way I live. And when I started, because we do brand marketing, this you see, this is fun for me. This is something, I've always wanted to do. I just like talking.
Yeah.
You know, this is just fun. But on the other side, you can ask my daughter over there. She who's doing the engineering, Lauren. She does a fantastic job, and she is our social media guru and whatnot. And she's the one who points me in the right direction on the social media stuff. But,
I believe it.
Yeah, right. And but you know, when I sat down, and I think this is important when you're talking about these things and young people like yourself and developing these scenarios. You know, we talk about building business through relationships and not transactions. I've worked in corporate America, and to me, I think that's the similar thing here. Is you got to find that relational construct rather than a transactional construct. And I think there's a lot of people that do business transactionally. Here's your money. Here's my product. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye. Have a great day. I don't believe in that. I never have. I believe in. I want to do business with people I can build relationships with, because that's who I am. That's the kind of person I am. That's why, you know, we've worked with Game 7 since 2017, Dave and Dave, and we've built that relationship, and we work together with each other. We push and prod and do, and it's been great, and we have a great time with it. And that's the kind of bit and the transaction part of it is a secondary. We all got to do business. We all make money. We all got to do those things, right? You got to pay bills, right? Eating is good,
Yeah.
right?
But I think and I would encourage anyone that's going through the process, talk to the people that have gone through it. Because Ty played with a lot of his Royals scout team friends, from Trey Snyder to Grant to those. They had already had relationships and gone through the recruiting process already with certain schools. Well, when you call a school and tell them, hey, I'm not interested in coming here, that coach's reaction to you says a lot about that sort of relationship.
Yes.
And there are definitely some schools that were crossed off the list very quick because some of his friends from there, they called, said, hey, we're not going to go there, and their response to that kid was unpleasant. So they eliminated themselves immediately. And I think, especially with the transfer portal, it is really unwise to treat a kid if he says, hey, I think this is the best fit for me. Ty says, hey, Mizzou's the best fit for me. He might get down there and realize the coaching staff, whatever about it's not right. So he goes in the transfer portal. He's not going to look back at those schools that treated him poorly or said things about him or took shots at him. You're going to move on to a different school. Right. And that's with the transfer portal and everything being so fluid. It's an interesting dynamic of like, you better watch how you respond to a kid telling you, hey, this isn't the best fit.
And, you know, there's always, like we've said, there's pros and cons to everything, right, guys? But it does, as we're talking about this, does change the dynamic in how you develop relationships, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think it was a super important thing for me, like talking to the coaches that I had genuine connections with, and like having like a personal. I know some people that like just send a text and say like, hey, I'm not going here, but I like having like the coaches that took their time to go recruit you and like are willing to spend money on you and stuff like that for you to come to their school, for you to like reach out and have like a genuine conversation with them to tell them no, I think was like a big thing for me and something that they also made me do. But
Ken, those are tough conversations.
Yeah.
And telling someone no, and that's part of, again, sports should teach us life lessons. And being able to tell someone, hey, this is tough, but this isn't going to work. I know Leo had that experience as well of like, those are not fun. I know Ty really dreaded doing it. I'm sure you dreaded doing it.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's like, as people say, it's the first time you're going to tell an adult no. So it's not an easy phone call to make.
No, it's not. No, those are things to me that are very difficult, even when you're. It always is, because I don't think we like disappointing people, right? Nobody likes to be disappointed. Nobody wants to feel like. But it's things it's grown-up stuff you have to do. You have to realize that not everything will always work, and that's as simple as it gets. Quicker you. Because when you make it personal, when you make things on a personal level and you're starting to develop relationships and whatnot, that's when it becomes hard. If it's just transactional, it's easy to just say, no, thanks, goodbye.
Yeah.
But if you really, truly care about who you are as a person and you're working to develop that, but it's not quite what I'm looking for, that is hard. It is difficult.
And I think that with the recruiting process, that was some of the schools that were recruiting, I know Ty for sure, and I'm Leo, but they're recruiting 60 players coming in. You're just a number. And that's what each school had a different dynamic of like, hey, we only recruit TCU, Indiana, some of those schools only recruit a limited number of high school guys. So they care about you.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Arkansas and Tennessee and some of those other SEC schools.
It's bloated.
Tennessee, I know for the 2024 class has in between 23 and 25 kids. Trey Snyder is one of 8 shortstops going to Tennessee. Not counting the kids already there, the transfer portal, JUCO. I mean, that's a lot. It becomes difficult to believe of, hey, we believe you're going to be our shortstop. Well, you got 8 of them. And those are all things with the recruiting process, and nothing against Trey Snyder. Trey Snyder can go there and play. He's tremendous.
Yeah, I get right.
But there's also a lot of other tremendous shortstops out there.
But you got 8 dudes.
And that's just the 24 class.
Yeah.
That's not the returners. That's not. And I know for both of them, trying to get on the field early is essential. I mean, that's what we talk about. You're going there to play.
And to your point, you got 8 shortstops. You know they're going to convert 3-4 of those guys to outfielders, a second baseman, maybe even a third baseman. So if you're one of those corner guys, you got to start thinking about who's ahead of you, correct?
Yeah, for sure. I think that was honestly the biggest thing for me one of the biggest things for me was playing time. So getting on the field early, and I feel like that was just the biggest thing, just being able to play in the best conference. But
Well, my 2 cents, it's a nickel now because of inflation, just so you know. I love you in center field. I do. I think you're a tremendous athlete, man. And I'm not saying that because you're sitting here. I've said it before. I like you in center field. I just think it's hard to track a baseball. And you're an outfielder, and you were playing center field. Don't mean to hurt your feelings, bro.
I'm not going to lie to you. Me and Coach Perkins had a lot of conversations because he wanted him in center field.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, we have another D1 center fielder.
Right.
Which most schools don't have.
Right.
And Coach Perkins had never seen him play infield.
Right.
So, and that's...
Well, because Jake's there. It's easy.
You have a D1 shortstop. You don't need...
Exactly.
And that's what... But...
Those are good decisions to have.
And that's what... at the end of it, look, with high school sports... Talent's what wins. At the end of the day, I mean, some of the coaches around the area do such a great job, and they don't get to go to Final Fours because they just don't have the depth of talent.
Agreed.
I mean, I think we counted the other day, in between 15 and 20 kids that will play in college on this year's team. We have 7 or 8 D1 baseball players on this year's team will probably be better than last year's team.
Yeah, you guys.
And that's. But you look at Coach Beckman is, to me, one of the best coaches I've ever been around. He worked with us for 2 years. I actually coached him when I was just starting at House Central, but he does such a great job in so many ways. And if he had 15 college baseball players, and House Central is a quality program with kids, but they just can't run out.
I think they've got a good freshman class. I know
they do.
I know 5 or 6 or 7 of those kids that are coming into that program that.
Yeah, and I'm happy for him. I hope he gets talent. I hope.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of guys like him that, because certain coaches win more, people think that they're doing something special. Well, we won a state championship in 2016. 17, we were 500. 18, we were it was 10 games under 500. We weren't coaching different.
Right.
Talent was different.
Right.
So it just, sometimes people get caught up in, hey, we need to go to this school because this coach wins. Well, they win because of talent.
And to your point, I think there's a lot of really good high school coaches in this area. Because when they get talent, they're able to. Because to me, and I want to ask you guys this, and this is something, just we're talking baseball now. I'm of this opinion, and we'll call it that. I look at sports across the board, and you have coaches at high levels what makes this team better than that team? And I think this is true, as you say, talent wins. But talent doesn't win when you don't have a coach who doesn't understand how to bring the talent to the level they need to be. Agreed?
Yeah, I would agree. I think once the talent gap shrinks, the coaching matters a lot more, because like in college, say in the SEC, that the talent gap shrinks. Like everyone was an All-American, everyone was All-State, that Gatorade Player of the Year, whatever the case may be. So the coaching and how they can transform their players into something better is, like, I think the biggest thing is, I think that's when it matters, whenever the talent gap shrinks and it's just like guy versus guy, like everyone's kind of equal. So whatever coach can raise their players to a higher standard will usually win, I think.
And I think it's more so some of these things, because I want your opinion on this, Leo, because you're this guy that people watch, look at, you play, start. Not that you're a senior. I think you've proven that. Here you come up. You got 2 years left, right? You just signed. How much are egos factor into this team you guys got going?
Do you mean egos of other teams or our team?
No, your team.
Just our team?
You're the guys around you. I mean, you guys are pretty good.
Yeah, I think that a lot of kids that go to Howell know about our sports and who we are. So I feel like most kids at our school know that we're good, but they also know that we have to show that. So I think some kids' egos might be a little higher when they're talking to other schools, but at the end of the day, and we're at practice and stuff, we're just a team. Our egos aren't through the roof like we're the best team out here. We're just practicing and doing the same as everyone else.
Do you think that the coaches help you guys maintain that level of attitude?
Mm-hmm. I mean, Coach Perkins does a great job. I mean, Cissell does a great job. It's like Perkins doesn't care where we are, like, ranked at the beginning of the season, because it doesn't matter. What matters is where you are at the end of the season. So,
see, because to me, I think that's the most important job of any manager, head coach, because no matter what, you guys have egos. And if you don't, as an elite athlete, and you're not going to have any confidence in your ability to perform. Am I right?
Yeah, I think it takes a little bit of arrogance, like, because like the Trey Snyder thing you kind of said, like, not like saying people are like better than you, like knowing that you can compete with anyone, no matter who's on the field, wherever. Like, put me up to, like, against the best players, and like I'll kind of like show you what I can do. So it's a little bit of like an arrogance of like, he's not better than me or he's not better than me, but it's also recognizing that they're all like great players.
And that's where I know why you use the word. To me, it's just supreme confidence. It borders, and I think that's why people think, oh, he's just arrogant. No, there's a difference between arrogance and confidence. I believe that very much, right?
I mean, you can see a player that knows they're going to perform.
Right.
Nolan Sissom, when he's at the plate, he's going to perform. Like, he just has Leo. The first time I saw Leo was at the prep camp, the 9th grade prep camp, whatever. I'm standing against the fence. I have no idea who Leo was. I'm standing on the opposite side, the Zumwalt West they're playing against. And I'm just sitting there watching the game, and all of a sudden the entire bench gets up, goes up to the fence, and watches. And I'm like, who the heck are they watching? Like, why is everyone standing up? And every one of those kids was locked in going, what's he going to do? It was just, I look out there, I'm like, oh, this must be the Leo kid. Like, but that's where it's not that he was saying or doing anything.
Right.
He just has a presence in the box where you go, and that's what.
Yeah.
You have to have that, and especially if you're going to play in college, whatever level, from JUCO to D2, and that's what I think people get caught up on the D1 thing.
I agree.
I mean, I went to JUCO. I was a JUCO guy, and the tail end of JUCO, my JUCO team would have beat my D1 team. Like, it's not even close.
Yeah.
Although we had probably 5 guys that flunked out of D1 and came back to JUCO.
So right.
But that's JUCO. You get It's an interesting mix. But like even the egos, Brett Norfleet, ego. Like I don't.
No.
And that's what I'm saying.
That's one of the nicest kids you ever meet.
And that's what people see him on the field as a competitor. Or they'll see these guys on the field. But when they're together, they're just kids. Like very rarely have we seen ego issues within our team. It happens, but for the most part, it's tough for him to have an ego with him when they're both D1. They're both draftable. Like,
Right.
and then above them is like Northfleet. Above them was McCutcheon. Like, there's a lot of kids that could, but they're too goofy to have egos.
Did you like that?
No,
Leo was laughing.
it's whatever.
I think that's funny.
I thought it was funny.
It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, mercy. Hey, guys, any last thoughts on NIL? If just for people watching, what you think of it and your thoughts just to finish out.
I got something. The other day I was on the phone with Coach Jackson. He was talking to me and my parents, just explaining the money part of things more. And when he's talking about NIL is not necessarily just giving you the money just for you to have it. They're also trying to help you be more successful later in life. So they're basically explaining it as, hey, you get $5,000, you put half of that away, that's going to double a couple years from now, and then it's going to double again. So it's hoping you have a future after college, and after you retire, you're going to have that money that you stocked away. So there's more to that money than people think there is. Like at Mizzou, they have a plan on why they're giving you that money to help you with your future after baseball. So
There you go.
He said it great. He can wrap up for me too. He did great.
There you go.
And
Right?
Coach Jackson has had those conversations. He cares about these kids learning how to manage money and how to become a better person, become a man, become a leader. And I think anyone that's around Coach Jackson for any length of time is going to see it. I mean, he is.
I've only seen him on the social media, with those things, and that's it. But he seems genuine in where he's at and what he wants to accomplish.
He has a very clear vision, and he knows what he wants to do. And I think, I've got to know him, and I know him quite well. But he is a good guy. What he says, he's going to do. And I think in college, especially recruiting, to find someone you can trust, you might not agree with their decisions or playing time or whatever. But if you can just trust that they're going to take care of your kid, that's all I'm asking for.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you,
It
sir.
was a pleasure.
Pleasure. Okay. We'll get there. Thank you. That was a lot of fun. I hope everybody enjoyed this. And the information for you that we brought here. We'll put some of these links too in the description below here in the show, so you can go read about this stuff. I think it's great information if you're a parent looking to understand this. Remember, not every school is going to be, don't make. I would suggest don't make this the priority. If it's there, take advantage of the opportunity. Right.
Yeah.
So there's some last words for you there. Thanks very much, folks, for tuning in. If you like what we're doing, please hit the subscribe button. And then right next to it is a dinger. Hit that dinger, because that's what we do, baby. We hit dingers. That's what I'm saying. Because chicks dig the long ball, and that's how you get NIL money.
I'm a fan of bunting, but that was just me.
Oh, man. But that'll get you all your notifications for upcoming episodes such as these that you'll be able to watch. So we appreciate it very much. Everybody, have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes. You guys got some advice for hitters?
Hit the ball.
yeah, see the ball, hit the ball.
See the ball, hit the ball. I love it. We'll see y'all next time.